Ladies and gentlemen, next we have our second esteemed panel of the day. The theme of this panel is financing the SDGs. As we stand at the juncture of hope and action, the quest for sustainable development beckons a global coalition to foster a future where prosperity is intertwined with the well-being of our planet and its denizens. Financing the SDGs is not merely a financial endeavor, but a moral imperative, a journey that calls for collective resolve, innovative solutions, and a global synergy of resources. Today, we are honored to host a distinguished panel of experts who are at the forefront of these endeavors. Through today's discussions, we aim to unravel the financial architectures, innovative models, and strategic partnerships that are pivotal in bridging the financing gaps and accelerating progress towards the SDGs. On that note, I would like to invite your moderator for today's session, Puan Nik Tasha, Nik Kamaruddin, Chief Brand Strategy Officer and Sustainability Team Lead of Sunway Group, as well as Deputy Chair of the British Malaysia Chamber of Commerce, onto the stage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Tasha, my name. And thank you for being here at the last part of this session. Initially, we wanted to serve afternoon tea after the previous session, but I thought after lunch and then after tea, you'll all be in a food coma. So bear with us, and then you'll get afternoon tea later. Okay. So, and the chairs doesn't indicate the age of the next speakers, yeah? Because the last speakers were standing. It's just that we would like to be a bit more comfortable. All right. Like me, I believe you will get to appreciate the diversity of this panel, which represent different points of where sustaining finances and sustainability needs to coexist. With that, our first panelist, allow me to introduce someone who's not unfamiliar with the banking world. In fact, he has been in the forefront of a lot of new things which goes into the sustainability framework. He has been with UOB for several years, and before that, he has an illustrious background of banking for over 20 years. Allow me to introduce to you Mr. Jasper Wong, Head of Real Estates and Hospitality and Construction and Infrastructure, Sector Solution Group, United Overseas Bank. Jasper, could you join me on stage? So the next speaker actually is on our VIP seats earlier. So it's not often you get a VIP coming into a panel. But we're honored to have this person here because he is actually the custodian of an outstanding masterpiece of Khmer architecture. And of course, plays a great role in terms of food sustainability, as 85% of the things that they do in this province is actually agriculture. It gives me great honor to invite His Excellency Kim Rithy, Governor of Preah, Vihear, Cambodia, up on stage. Your Excellency. When I spoke to this lady this morning, I was a little bit intimidated because not only she has been very proficient in the daily things that we do in Islamic financing, she actually has changed the landscape for it in Southeast Asia. Her illustrious background actually gives way to a lot of things. I know for sure in Malaysia, CIMB wouldn't exist with its Islamic structure without her. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Hurriyah Islamy up on stage. Last but definitely not least, because we all love a good auditor, May I introduce to you the CEO of Grant Thornton, Mr. Kishan Jasani, up on stage, please.
Yes, right. Thank
Okay. Oh, thank you, Anas. Sorry, I'm always 2 seconds ahead of you, so sorry about that. Okay, so how this session is going to work is each of our illustrious speakers will have around 10 to 15 minutes to talk about a subject that's very passionately close to their heart and is what they're thriving for all of us to do to achieve a sustainable balance in this world. After that, there'll be Q&A session. So can you please flash up the QR code for us? This QR code will make you ask any questions that you want to ask our panelists. Please go ahead and take this QR code in line and we can do the Q&A after that. Okay? So for the first topic, it's about achieving net zero through sustainable financing programs for businesses. This is something very important, I think, for business these days because without a sustainability conversation, business cannot run. And Jasper, I think you have a lot of experience in this, so over to you for the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to thank ASLI as well as Sunway for the invitation to this conference. We are truly honored to be able to stand on the stage. I know even though the title says Achieving Net Zero, I can assure you that we are not there yet. You know, sometimes when we hear the band, they sound so nice, right? I mean, I can tell you that in the banking sector, we didn't start off like that, right? And hopefully, after this conference, the banks can actually rally together and play as one. Okay, so just quickly, why is it important for us? If you don't mind, I can just walk around. I think when we look at sustainability, we look at 2050, and that's a lot of the targets that corporates, banks, as well as advisors are all targeting 2050. Because by 2050, there will be 30% more population in this world, closing into about 10 billion. If you look at the energy sector itself, they're expected to increase by more than 160%. So that's around 60,000 terawatt hour. And if you look at the sea level itself, by 2050, global mean sea level is expected to rise by 30 centimeters. And especially, for low-lying islands, country like Singapore, it is a crucial and critical matter that we have to address. And then by 2050, about 70% of the population will be living in urban area. Now, then we move on there. How is it relevant to us, right? We look at it from four sectors perspective. So one is from the government. Everyone now is talking about COP28, which will be happening in the coming 2 weeks. And Malaysia itself has also committed 45% reduction in carbon intensity by 2030. Right. Then we look at our consumers, the buyers, the people that we are targeting to actually sell our services and products to. Even now, we are looking at close to about 90% or 9 out of 10 employees who are coming into the workforce are very concerned about who they are working for, what do they stand for, and what are the initiatives that they are undertaking. Now then, moving on to the investor side, right? I mean, all of us are looking to expand, looking at whether you're going in the stock exchange or you're going in the private equity front to raise funds. 4 out of 5 or 90% are actually looking at data investing. So what is data investing? I think our panelists will be explaining about why it's important, to avoid the dirty word called greenwashing nowadays. Now then, lastly, we look at the ecosystem partners. For a lot of SMEs, they think that actually sustainability doesn't concern them. But if you think about it, right, a lot of the large global brands are actually having their manufacturing facilities in this part of the world. And these are engaging in the SMEs that are actually doing or producing the works for them. Now, with the global companies that are going net zero and they have a sustainability target that they have set forth, what that means is for SME, they are part of the overall Scope 3 ecosystem. Therefore, from our perspective, from a UOB perspective, we need to help our SMEs to transit. Right. So in terms of just getting a bit of a net zero story out of the way. So last year in October, UOB has committed that we will go net zero by 2050, and we have actually committed 6 sectors here on the board that you see. So 2 main sectors that we are targeting, that which actually gives the most energy intensive or most carbon intensive. One is energy, and the other one is on the real estate sector or built environment sector. Now, on the energy side, we look at how to reduce Scope 2 for our clients on power, automotive, as well as on the oil and gas side. On the built environment, we look at real estate, we look at construction, and we also look at steel. And there will be a lot more of this industry sector that we will be going into. But so far, these 6 sectors will cover 60% of our lending portfolio. Now, in terms of how we do it, right, we started this journey back in 5-6 years ago to think about, we didn't start it off, from a sustainability perspective. We started off thinking how to address the pain points of our clients, effectively sustainability. So we came out with these 5 frameworks. One is on real estate on the left-hand side that you see. We also have a smart city model. We have a circular economy. We have a sustainable trade finance or trade finance framework, and also a transition finance framework, which YV Rafizi spoke about this morning. So we are on our way. Now, if you see on the slides itself, we also have listed out the SDG that we are targeting, and also specifically in certain industry areas. Maybe I'll dwell down a bit more on our Smart City Sustainable Finance Model. So this Smart City Sustainable Finance Model covers 8 pieces of the area. I call them the pizza pie, because starting from real estate, we focus on developers, asset owners, as well as REITs, in terms of how we can help them to obtain green financing or sustainability loan, bonds or loans. Then we have renewable energy. So renewable energy, we have solar, wind, geothermal, and mini hydro. I'll explain a bit more on what we do with the solar side. You have heard about U-Solar. Then we have energy efficiency. So we have a program that's for U-Energy. Then we have one for green transport, which focus, we call it U-Drive, that focus on EVs as well as EV charging. Then moving into green building construction. So for green building construction, we effectively help the developers to actually expand their reach in terms of sustainability. I.e., if you're building a green building that has a certification from GBI or Green RE, the contractors and the suppliers themselves that are working on this specific projects can obtain green financing from us. Now, then we will be expanding into sustainable power, sustainable water and waste management, as well as climate change adaptation. So climate change adaptation is more the carbon capture, utilization, and storage. Now, we allow this, why do I emphasize on this? Because we wanted to scale up the program. In order, if we go to SME, to ask them to do a corporate framework for themselves, which is going to take 20,000-30,000 and is going to spend like 4 to 6 months just doing the framework. We allow these frameworks to be tapped by our clients who doesn't have a framework for free, right? So then that allows us to scale up our sustainability program, allow more the SMEs to tap the green financing, so that the economy can transit faster to a greener economy. Now, On UOBM side, just a couple of things I want to mention because since we're talking about SDG, for UOB Malaysia, recently we obtained an ESG Business Award for workplace wellness. So recently we completed our Plaza One building, which actually has a sky lounge, a game room, a childcare facility. So all this actually builds on to employee loyalties as well as more collaboration and support being given to our employees, and we are really thankful that the organizations are being recognized for the efforts that we have put in. Now, also the Plaza One itself is also certified platinum by Green RE as well as BCA. Now, in terms of gender equality on SDG 5, we have actually raised our bar in terms of the women in management is now representing already 30%. So there will be a lot, the bar will be raised higher in the coming years, I'm sure. Now, on Scope 2 itself, we focus on SDG 7 and 13 itself on climate action. I'll go into a bit more on youth solar program, but at the minimum, what we are currently doing is we have started working with private sectors. We have signed a virtual PPA with a solar provider to demonstrate that our strong commitment to transit to clean energy. And last but not least, on SDG 17, UOBM is actually currently co-chair in the SFG, so the SME focus group with Bank Negara to actually push the JC3, right? It's a joint committee for climate change, which actually consists of 30 companies or members, which includes banks, insurance companies, as well as ecosystem partners. The goal of this is actually being mandated to drive adoption or higher adoption for SMEs. And recently, we have also launched this ESG Jumpstart portal, which actually committed 1 billion of ESG financing for SMEs. Okay, so I'm just going through fairly quickly. I will take you through in terms of what we are doing on the youth series program. Just to sort of go in together with what has been all the speakers have talked about in terms of acronyms. We have the 3 S's, we have the 6D, and we have the 3 C's. So we also have the 3 U's. So the 3 U's are the U Solar, U Energy, and U Drive. So this sustainability program is revolved around how we can help our clients to transit. Whether they want to install solar, whether they are looking at their building, how to optimize their building electricity, or how to install, EV charging or fleet transition itself. These are the things that are dear and close to the heart of the SME. And how they are doing this is through the financing program that we have. So if you look at the chart here, we're targeting the entire building itself. You have solar at the rooftop, you have your air condition, your chiller, your AHU, your LED lights, your facade, elevators, even energy management system or building management system, including as well as your EV charging in your basement. So these are the things that we're looking at. And by the end of this month, we're actually launching another new program called UBuild, which is targeting developers, asset owners, as well as REITs in terms of how to help them to decarbonize, or also help them to manage their real estate portfolio itself. So stay tuned, we have more to come. So just quickly on the youth solar program that we have. So this program started off 4 years ago, and next year will be our 5th year, and we will have more exciting programs that are coming up. So youth solar was the Asia's, and still is Asia's first integrated financing platform for solar energy. We started off with 3 things, right? One is to promote sustainability by using solar energy. Second thing is we realize that the ecosystem itself lacks the support in terms of financing, whether you're a developer, contractor, your suppliers, as well as operators. And the last thing is, of course, financing for the end user itself. So these are the 34 partners that we have developed very close relationship with. And we see that there is a lot of synergies in terms of collaboration on helping to grow the whole ecosystem. The goal for us is to ensure that they will continue to have more adoption in terms of clean energy. And recently, or today or yesterday, the CGPP program has already been fully subscribed with the 800 megawatts. So there are still a lot more opportunity for SMEs, also for the industry players to come in. Now, these are the financings that we accord to the players in the market. So we are always looking for new partners. We are also always looking for new ideas. I think this afternoon we have heard a lot of new ideas from technology side that we are actually wanting to work with also on the solar itself. So these are the 11 awards that we have gotten so far, and we are really grateful. It's not because of us, it's because of the support from the customers as well as our partners that help us to achieve to have such an achievement. This is just a tangible impact that I just want to show, in terms of what we have done with the programs that we have. And we want to mention that, close to about 400 companies have actually benefited, and about 1.7 thousand households have actually taken up our youth solar program. So I want to leave you on with this last note. I really love this quote. It says that the environment and the economy are both sides of the coin. And if we cannot sustain the environment, we cannot sustain ourselves. So thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Jasper. I think from the news coming from Singapore and Thailand as well, the youth solar activation has gone really well. And we hope to see how the region is going to come up together in that sense. And from the Sunway side as well, we've been working closely with your team. We signed an MOU in the middle of this year to do many, many parts of how we can work together across our different sectors. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker actually brings us to preservation and how agriculture, as the minister said, is one of the key drivers to move forward in order for us to be sustainable. And being the custodian of a UNESCO heritage site since 2008, and it is a pleasure to hear what you have to say, Your Excellency. So I present to you His Excellency.
Testing, mic test. Okay. Good afternoon, Tan Sri Dato, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I will take the summit to a little bit on a different path to a lighter, more digestible topic. I think we just heard the presentation about sustainability and solar financing. I came to learn a term called bankers burnout. And if you're looking to make a real difference and impact on the ground, helping poor children with better education, helping malnutrition kids better healthcare, or helping to restore the forest, or helping poor farmers with access to market. I have a place for you. Please come visit Cambodia. Please come visit my province. That's what I do every day. So I'm a governor of a provincial government in Cambodia. And before I go to talk about my province, I want to introduce you a little bit about Cambodia. I met some of you. You already been to Cambodia, been to Angkor Wat, but I believe some of you have not been there or have not heard of Cambodia. Cambodia is between Vietnam and Thailand and Laos. And in the south here, we have the Gulf of Thailand in the south of Cambodia. So Cambodia has 25 provinces. I will talk about the three triangle later. We have Phnom Penh as the capital, Siem Reap as our cultural province, and Sihanouk as our port province. And Preah Vihear, that's where I work, and that's where I come from. Anyway, this is Cambodia. The top picture is, this is what Cambodia today, and the bottom picture is what Cambodia 20 years ago. It has different landscape, it has different vibrancy. First of all, it's very safe. I think you heard in the news lately that it's not a safe city. It's very safe. I think it's safer than New York or London. We don't have mass shooting. We have a much better gun control over there. The fact that we had so many civil wars in the past, but we've done excellent well with peace process, with gun control, and with other security measure. So this is what the landscape. It's a traditional country. This is what Phnom Penh looks like now. There are a lot of skyscrapers, a lot of rooftop bars and pubs, and so please visit us and enjoy the evening landscape in Phnom Penh. This is Phnom Penh city, by the way. So this is what Phnom Penh looks like now. I live in the city, but I worked in a province called Preah Vihear. Anyway, I'm here to argue that Cambodia is under a progressive structural transformation. It has a strong and stable growth with rising per capita income and with the growing middle income, which is the base for industrial transformation. So this is what Cambodia is going through. Perhaps Malaysia has gone through that the last 20, 30 years, but we are going through that phase now. This is some of the data. We are performing well for the last 5 years, except the COVID years. Our GDP is, in 2018 is 24 billion. We projected to be 30 billion this year. I won't go through all the data. It has a stable and progressive economic and social policies. We have open economy and adopting rule-based trading system. We are a member of ASEAN FTA, ASEAN plus Australia, China, India, Japan, Korea, and New Zealand. We are also a member of RCEP. Cambodia, RCEP was initiated in Cambodia 10 years ago, and RCEP was adopted, came into force in Cambodia this year. Cambodia also have a bilateral FTA with China, Korea, and UAE. Just to talk a little bit about FTAs. There are a lot of rules and regulation and compliance, tax code, import and export processes we have to go through. So just want to highlight that we are working very hard to adopt a rule-based system in Cambodia. So we are also going through progressive policies for urbanization and structural transformation. We are transforming our capital city, Phnom Penh, transforming our historical city in Siem Reap, and we are transforming our port city in Sihanouk. I wish to highlight that during COVID, we take when every challenges, there's an opportunity. So we take that opportunity to transform Siem Reap and Sihanouk city. A lot of infrastructure rehabilitation over there. So if you have not been to Siem Reap for a while, please go back again. It will be, it looks different, and it's a different city now. So the next phase for Cambodia sustainable development is to build city linkages and urban agglomeration. to build industrial agglomeration and to build infrastructure and connectivity, and of course to have forward-looking policies. I think you have just heard in the news that we have a new government after more than 40 years of incumbent government. We have a new team on board. I think the policy-making process is more vibrant. We take in more input from stakeholders, from business, as well as our development partners. So we are excited about building more robust policies and helping Cambodia move forward. So this next slide, I just want to highlight that Cambodia has more to offer in the region. We are more connected than we think we are. So this railroad is an initiative under the BRI, China's BRI initiative. The Kunming Railroad, Kunming to Vientiane, is already done. I think so the Laos railroad is done. So the Laos to Bangkok is in development. So the Vietnam line and Cambodia line is the study has completed, and it's the development phase will come next, and then the last line will be the Malaysia and Singapore line. So this is the railway connectivity in our region, and I think Cambodia can contribute more to the region. Let me take you briefly to Preah Vihear. So Preah Vihear province is poor and remote provinces with big physical area but small population. We are about 300 kilometers from Phnom Penh City. We are 150 kilometers from Siem Reap. We have about 277,000 population with 13,000 kilometers square. The population of my province I heard, is about the same as Sunway City, 270,000. Sunway City.
Plus and minus, yeah.
And we have 229 kilometer border with Thailand and 140 kilometer border with Laos. We have three potential sectors. One is agriculture sector. Second is nature conservation. And third is culture, heritage, and nature tourism. All right, let me take you quickly to agriculture sector. So agriculture sector always subsidized, right? Don't make money, government invest a lot. But the question is, how do we create values, added values to agriculture? So we do that by forming 43 farmer cooperative. We have the most successful practice of contract farming in Cambodia. We also produce organic rice, organic cashew nut, and organic cassava. We export our product to Europe and US. We are Europe Eco-certified and USDA organic certified. In terms of commercial farms, we do have rubber, banana, mango plantation, and other plantation. Just want to highlight that having a Euro Eco-certified and USDA certified is not an easy process. There are a lot of inspections, a lot of training, working with different stakeholders. I think my time is coming up. I'm going to go quickly. That's a rice farm, that's cassava, that's cashew nut. That's working with farmers and working with signing contracts for EU and US market. Second is nature conservation. We have over 1 million hectares of conservation area. We work with Wildlife Conservation Society. We also work with Red Plus project under the UN-SDSN project to reduce deforestation through conservation and sustainable management of forest. Okay, this is a sexy part. We also sell carbon credits to corporates in the US and in Europe. We are one of the most successful one. But having a carbon credit certified, it's a big challenge, and we are one of the successful story of selling carbon credits. We also create social capital, working with local communities in conservation area by creating trust, empowerment, and wealth creation. Right, third, so these are the area of conservation. I'm gonna go straight to some pictures, working with communities on wildlife protection. We do a carbon absorption measurement, and we do a forest inspection and management control. Third is a culture and nature tourism belt and hub. We try to create values through circular economy and ecosystem. As I mentioned, we are about 150 kilometers from Angkor Wat. We want to create new heritage tourism belt and hub. We have the second most ancient temple after Siem Reap province. We have two UNESCO World Heritage sites, and we have two national natural heritage sites. And we also have bird watching activities such as vulture, giant ibis, and white wild duck. All right. So this is the first World Heritage site. It's on top of a mountain. And this is our second World Heritage site. You think of pyramid, you think in Egypt. Right? So we have one of the, we have a pyramid in Cambodia. That's the only one. Waterfall, it's beautiful. That's a vulture and that's a bird. All right. Let me go straight to my final slide. All right, just a final thought on this is that conservation is an expensive business. Farming is heavily subsidized. Preservation of cultural site is expensive. And the question is, how do we make it sustainable? How do we create values out of it? And how can we monetize on it, I believe. So in my conclusion remark is we have to create returns on values and sustaining that values. And a lot of, nature, heritage, and culture are important assets to create values and induce the sustainability of finance. Value creating in social capital, social inclusion, public-private partnership, and taking into account of welfare of the people. And value creation and livability of sustainable cities. And city linkages, city agglomeration, and industrial agglomeration are important. Especially, we have to build human capital for that. Just on the last thought on this is that I think our communities, we need to build trusted communities, communities that can help each other. Yeah. And I think we come to a point where many communities don't talk to each other. Many nations don't talk to each other, not to mention they're having wars. And so we come at a time where building social capital, building trust, building reciprocity is an important time that we should invest in. So when we invest in many things that we do, investing in people, investing in trust is important. I think that's my last note for building sustainability. So thank you so much. Please visit Cambodia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I think apart from all our desire to visit Cambodia now, what you have brought is the element of the ground on what's happening. It's a symbiosis of life. Sustainability is putting all the pieces together to ensure that all this brings together a better future. And congratulations to what you've been doing in your province. I think it's important because it is not easy. As you said, conservation is an expensive activity to do. A lot of people talk about preservation and conservation. People don't realize it costs a lot of money and effort and a lot of buy-in to make it happen. With that, we will shift a little bit to something we're all love to hear about, especially in the present time. It's Dr. Hurriyah actually is a global frontier activist in terms of looking at how Islamic finances needs to coexist and should coexist amongst the whole ecosystem. as the Muslim population of the world grows, the understanding of this becomes more and more important. And I think what she does best is to bring the subject to ground. Because we had a chat earlier, a lot of people talk in banking jargon that the end consumer does not understand. And I think, Dr. Hurriyah, in some of your books and your writings and your conversations, you try to make that as comprehensible as possible, which is very important because it's like sustainability. A lot of people use sustainability jargons, but not many people really understand what it means to us as people that is living on the planet. So the floor is yours, Dr. Hurriyah. Over to you.
Thank you very much. So I apologize, Madam Moderator and fellow speakers. I need to wake up from my food coma, so I will be standing. And since I don't have wonderful pictures and places of interest on my slide, nor a beautiful picture of the city, so I would like to ask this question first before I will start my presentation proper. And Alhamdulillah, we have a very generous Mr. CEO of ASLI here, who has agreed that whoever can answer a very simple question, 2 questions actually, that I'm going to ask now, will get the limited edition Monopoly. So please raise your hand. It's simple. It's just yes and no, but 2 questions. The first question, do you think sustainability is new for Islamic banks? And when you answer without raising your hand, you don't get the Monopoly. And the second, do you think sustainability is new for Islamic law? So you have to answer for both questions. Raise your hand.
I think the gentleman in the white shirt on the left side of the room.
Okay.
Raised
Yes, go
his hand,
ahead.
but I'm not sure which question he wants to answer. Both?
Yes, he has to answer both.
Okay.
First one, yes or no?
It's okay, I'll have just one Monopoly set. No.
The first one, no. And
Not
the
new.
second one?
No.
What's one? Oh, no, what's one? Okay.
Well,
Or I can have 2, then yeah, no.
okay. Actually, the first one, it could be yes and no, depending where you came from. But the second one is no, yes, so you'll get the Monopoly. Thank you. And thank you very much, Daniel. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good afternoon. Alhamdulillah, wa syukurillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. La hawla wa la quwata illa billahil aliyil azim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli amma ba'du. I did some changes to my slide last night after I had this short, very brief conversation with Mr. CEO, and also there was a guy who WhatsApped me. He's an expert from one consulting firm in Singapore. I shouldn't mention the name of the firm. Which basically both of them have something in common. They are saying that they have not heard much about Sharia, the sustainability from Sharia viewpoint. So I cannot avoid this jargon, but Sharia simply means the Islamic law. Why I started with asking that question? Because let me first introduce how Islamic law is to finance, to muamalah. Of course, I understand there are some of you who are already the experts in this, but the reason why I'm still introducing the topic, this particular point, is because I call myself orang dapur, the kitchen guy, the chef. In Islamic finance, I've been in several countries. I've overseen the Middle Eastern countries. APEC, when I was with one of the group here, I was actually responsible for all Islamic business of the group. And also my own country, which is quite recent. But the practice from country to country is different. Therefore, sometimes our understanding of Islamic finance in banking could also differ. So let me introduce how the general understanding of Sharia is when it comes to financing. How it differs from conventional. Because you see, depending on where you are, certain regulation actually will force the industry to behave just like the conventional banks. So you don't see much difference. But there are places where I worked there as well in the past, where we actually have completely different way of doing Islamic banking, offering completely different kind of Islamic products and services as well. Okay, similar to conventional bank, both banks, commercial entities, they are mostly profit driven. But for Sharia or Islamic institution, it cannot stop there. No matter how much your focus for profit is, you are actually limited by this very parameter that it must align with Sharia. That's why I would like to introduce what is Sharia. Why it is important, because if you claim yourself that you are doing your business,
15 minutes also.
Islamic banking business with Islamic license, or in Saudi Arabia, for example, they don't have specific license for Islamic, but they can actually adopt to do it Islamic way, then you have to make sure that what you do is aligned with the parameter. So I had this chat with Tasha earlier on. I left Malaysia in 2003. I went to UK at that time. We migrated to the UK. And when I got back, as I was asked to actually introduce a few things new to the industry in Malaysia back in 2014. So that was like 11 years later. I didn't see much change. The way how we did business, Islamic banking. At the beginning, why we did what we did was because we used this justification that Islamic banking was new. Therefore, we do whatever we could do just to actually facilitate, to enable the banking business. Or the word used at that time, because Islamic finance was at the state of infancy. But the Islamic finance has been around for over 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, depending where you are. I don't think there is an infant who is 40 years old. When you are 40 years old, most probably even your infant is going to be a teenager already. So it's not an excuse actually. But the advantage of doing Islamic banking, if you get away from the thought that it is just mere business and try to embrace the very idea, the very notion why it is called Islamic banking, first of all, because it is based on Sharia, it has to be done responsibly. When we provide financing, when we provide products and services, it is our obligation, even if it is not imposed by the authority, it is our obligation to comply with Sharia, and therefore you cannot cause any harm at all to your client, to the environment, to whatever. You have to do it responsibly. Therefore, the idea of sustainability is already there from day one actually. You cannot cause any harm to self, to others, nor to environment either. And then of course the very basic of Islamic law, the Sharia, you cannot do riba. So because you cannot do riba, you either do profit sharing or you do fee basis kind of business. When you do profit sharing, you also share the risk. Of course, when you share the risk, you have to be more responsible in doing it, because it's not only your potential profitability there, but also your potential accountability. And then fee basis, that will actually provide certainty in the transaction. And this is where the issue of Islamic banks was still in the state of infancy was relevant. The industry at that time tend to stick too much into avoiding what is haram and stop there. That's not the whole idea of Sharia. That's why I asked, do you think sustainability is new for the Islamic banks? The answer could be yes, because many have been doing this. They're just actually focusing on avoiding what is forbidden. But they don't go a step further, whether it is something that, it could be something, in Islam we have forbidden, we call haram. Haram, definitely you cannot do it. If you do it, your transaction is not valid. The second one, we also have makruh. Something which you can do, but if you avoid it, you get the reward from God. Now we are actually stepping into this. But there is a better version, what we call sunnah. Sunnah meaning that if you don't do it, it's okay. but if you do it, you get the reward from God. We should be aiming this. And I will tell you the reason why later on. But these are the factors that differentiate Islamic banking business from the conventional one. And then we also have, the pointer over there, yes. We have Ziswaf. This is Zakat, Infak, Sadaqah, and Wakaf. You can never sever this from Islamic transaction, Islamic muamalah we call it. This is social finance. Before even you introduce the notion of ESG, before we got to know ESG, before SDGs were there, this is already part and parcel of Sharia. It's always been there since the time the Prophet introduced it. This is something that definitely differentiates. But when we talk about Islamic finance, we never talk about it. We always just say, oh, you cannot do riba. That's it. Why always like what you cannot do? Why you don't actually also put the emphasis on what you can do for the society? This is where the Ziswaf, Zakat, Infak, Sadaqat, Wakaf could actually create inclusion, could actually increase the well-being, the prosperity of the ummah in a wider scope. And then the next one, Tabarruk and Ta'awun. Some people familiar with Takaful may be thinking of Takaful here. Well, you use that concept in Takaful. Ta'awun meaning operation. Tabarruk meaning you help each other. We have this concept from day one when Islam was introduced. And I'm sharing a little story very shortly. Oh my God, my time is almost kalas already. Where basically in Indonesia, you'll find those people who are unbanked people, but they have been doing quite good business. They actually cooperate with each other. They create their own Baitul Mal. They put money together and they agree on the profit sharing. So this is actually being done in Indonesia. The concept of Tabarruk and Ta'awun. And no hoarding, of course. This is something that costs, I have very little time. Okay, the reason why I was saying that Islamic finance has to actually step a bit further because we are focusing so much on halal. Halal meaning you can do it. But in the Quran, whenever you are asked to do something, it never stops at halal. It's always halal and tayyiban. Tayyiban meaning good. You cannot just stop as making sure that it is okay to do it. But on top of that, you have to make sure that it gives good impact and it doesn't have any negative effects. Therefore, we have this element of quality. So things can differ. For example, a medicine could be good for most people, but if I'm allergic to it, it is not tayyiban for me. It is halal. So the ruling will differ depending on individual, whether the substance is harmful or not, whether it will endanger the user. This is halal, everyone knows about it. It could be zati, it could be hukmi. What I mean by hukmi, something could be halal by itself as a substance. In Indonesia, only a couple of days ago, our council has already issued a fatwa. Any product produced in Israel is haram. So the hukum, the ruling will change. By itself, the product could be halal, but because of the ruling, it could change. Become haram. Likewise, there was a fatwa in Indonesia that said cryptocurrency haram. Because basically the BI was not supporting of it. But I myself, I actually wrote a paper with, in my opinion, in my view, cryptocurrency is halal. So the hukmi could change depending on the circumstances around it. But the ethical part is very important. This is where my second question, do you think sustainability is new to Sharia? It is not. It has always been there because in order to be toyibah, you have to take a look at the process. You have to take a look at the effects, the impact to the society and the impact to the earth. And this has been warned, in fact, in the Quran, that what we witness, the damage, whatever destruction that we witness on the land, in the sea, are actually the effect of the hand of humans. Why? Because we don't care about this. We have been warned, yet we didn't care, we didn't do it. And since our topic is about Islamic financing, so even Islamic financing must actually consider all this. Because otherwise it's not toyibah. When it is not toyibah, you are not By the way, these are all order. When order, if you do it, you get the reward from God. If you don't do it, you get the punishment. So for the Islamic banks to say that, it's halal, it doesn't have to be toiba. No, this is very wrong because they're actually doing something which is in violation of the Quran. And you can compare here between the UN-SDGs and Maqasid Syariah. We call it Maqasid Syariah. There is the objective of Sharia, which has always been there. We have the main 5 things that we need to preserve in everything that we do from the moment we wake up in the morning until we go back to sleep again at night. We have to actually, here I actually put it here, preserve the religion, preserve the life, preserve the intellect, preserve the lineage, preserve the wealth. So in whatever you do, including for financial institution, if what you do will actually cause impact to this, negative impact, you cannot do it. Because then you don't serve the purpose of the Sharia. And better still, as I said, upgrade yourself. Don't stop as just fulfilling the halal and just avoiding the makruh, but doing the sunnah. Do something that can actually have good impact to the society. And it's all there. So not just halal, I put here, to do halal, avoid haram, but always also avoid makruh and to do sunnah. Time's up, my last page. Okay. These are the contemporary application of the sustainability. That's why I said, depending on where you are, if you are in Malaysia, your answer may be no. Because you already have green and SRI sukuk, FBI, blended financing. And last week, I was invited by the Security Commission to their event with the World Bank, where basically they have already launched the guidance on the Maqasid Syariah. So yeah, in Malaysia, it's not new. But if you come from so many other countries, depend. In Indonesia, it is relatively new because the POJK was just introduced last week for the sustainability. And for some other countries, this is quite interesting, especially in MENA region, the Middle East and North Africa. They have been doing it, but they don't call it as whatever you call it, SRI, sukuk, but they've been doing it. They actually contribute direct towards the real economy, which is actually the paramount idea suggested by Muamalah Sharia in Islamic law. But they don't call it so. Therefore, maybe because, sometimes when you don't announce that you do it, it doesn't get measured, and therefore, not many people know about it. In Indonesia, we have the sovereign green sukuk. Just a year after Malaysia introduced the sukuk, the green sukuk, we have the CWLS, cash wakaf list sukuk. This is very, very interesting product. We won the ISDB award for this product last year. This year actually, sorry, we are still in 2023. And since I don't have time, but for the benefit of the audience, I have actually included the data that you may need at the back of my slide. So feel free, if you need them, if you want to actually read them, reach out to the organizer, and if you need any clarification, any explanation, or maybe you just want to debate, feel free. Get my contact from the organizer, and I'll be very happy to actually discuss with you. With that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you so much, Dr. Hurriyah. I know this topic, like all the topics, it cannot be summarized as quickly as we want to, but whoever wants the slides for any other presentation, please reach out to me or my colleagues. We will be happy to share them with you with the permission of the panelists. And I think you're right. There needs to be less stereotypes and more open mind into because actually we all share the same ethics. We all share the same earth, and we need to share the same future. If not, time will be up very, very soon. The next topic is something actually everybody knows about it, but not many people actually understand what it takes to ensure how we do business is going to be for the good, for the business and for the people. Kishan Jasani is actually the CEO of Grant Thornton. Collectively in Malaysia and Cambodia, they have 1,200 staff. And if any single entity that you need to comply, like Bursa Malaysia, London Stock Exchange, Singapore Stock Exchange, Grant Thornton is the one that is helping to do the audit. So I think we have to listen to what Kishan has to say. Over to you, Kishan.
Thank you. You can use the rostrum, right?
Yes, you can.
Yes, can everyone hear me? Okay.
Can.
I think you should all try to, I know this is it's not a very exciting topic, and as always, the auditors will come in at the end of the year, right? You'll see them in January and February next year, the moment you start your audit process and your financial close process. So bear with me. I will give you a run through through the entire topic about, or dare I say, the elephant in the room, which is greenwashing. And I hope you can go home today with something from this conversation. First thing, I'd just like to thank the moderator, Tasha, for introducing me. I would also like to thank Daniel, the CEO of ASLI, for having me, and also our lovely band, a very, very good band. Felt like I was in a jazz concert. Okay, so let's talk about the elephant in the room. So Daniel mentioned about the song Zainal Abidin Hijau. And I'd like to quote a particular lyrics from Zainal Abidin's Hijau, which is, Pasti lambat laun hilang, duniaku yang malang. What does that mean for our non-Malay speaking colleagues? If you wait for too long, you're done, you're over. And remember, we only have one planet. We are the third rock from the sun. For those of you know, that's also a very popular comedy. So we got to do something about it. So let me talk to you about the threats, the opportunities, and also how do you avoid greenwashing? And I will link it back to the ESG and the SDGs. The first thing, so based on our research within Grant Thornton itself, we've noted that there are six key points when we talk to our clients and when we talk to our counterparts overseas. The first thing is, I had to put a finance element to it, and this will come in on the next slide, but ESG reporting is linked to your financial performance. Our research have noted, and I'll talk about it in the next slide, that ESG is the way to go. But please don't go, the next thing is, don't do greenwashing. The next thing is, as you know, in July and August, the industry was very abuzz because of the ISSB standards. The International Sustainability Standards Board have come out with the S1 and S2 standards. There is a cornucopia of standards, a smorgasbord, but again, we are standardizing along the way. Growing investor demand, as His Excellency has mentioned, green financing. He is also the first province, I think, the first government entity I've ever heard that is selling carbon credits globally. I don't think other entities, or I've not heard of any other countries that are doing it. So good on His Excellency on taking the charge on that. Sophistication around managing stakeholders. A lot of banking and finance colleagues sitting here have a lot of stakeholders, maybe from your authorities like BNM, Securities Commission, even local counterparts. So sophistication, I think we are getting more and more sophisticated along the way. Increasing regulation and legal challenges. This is an interesting one because I think as governments and countries are holding the directors more accountable towards ESG, I would say targets and guidelines, governments are also taking directors accountable for their ESG targets. I think everyone knows the famous Exxon Valdez case, Deepwater Horizon, and recently also the recent case in Nigeria where the Dutch courts ruled that the Shell directors were liable for any environmental damage done by the directors itself. The last thing that we see is also wariness on new report standards and reporting needs. This is an interesting one. We've got things like the SRI Sukuk bonds that are coming out from Indonesia and Malaysia. You've got carbon credits. You've also got regulations coming up from the bankers themselves, UOB. So this is something that we need to develop and we need to address. So let's talk about the first thing in the thing. Why go ESG? And why adopt ESG? It's quite straightforward. Your cost of capital, every banker should know this, is lower when you are ESG compliant. What we have noted, based on our research also, is that when you have a high ESG compliance or high ESG initiative, you are very well aware of your business needs. You've done an analysis of everything end to end. And you're also taking advantage of whatever, I would say, funding that is coming up with the government side, and you're able to execute that on your client side. But the final thing also is that as an organization, you're remapping, you're readdressing, and you're redeveloping your entire process cycle. The next thing is sustainable finance issuance is growing rapidly. In 2020, that was the COVID year. I mean, the data only came out until 2020. We can see that green bonds have grown exponentially. Sustainability-linked bonds are now growing. Malaysia used to have the double tax deduction for SRI bonds or green bonds. We have now expanded that to SRI-linked bonds. And this is something that is growing. In my experience, I'm seeing a lot of my clients developing SRI-linked bonds because, number one, investors are looking for it. Number two, clients are looking for it. So this is something that you should consider, and I think as finance institutions, go out there and seek and talk to your clients, if any of the clients out there, see how you can adopt these SRI-linked bonds and take it further. The next thing, but when we talk about ESG, I think the main thing that we have to talk about is there is a cornucopia of standards out there. And all this is driven by who here is an auditor or an ex-auditor? Put up your hands. I only see one. Okay, if you are too embarrassed to admit it, I understand. But we all know this term, right? Materiality. Everyone talks about materiality. The definition of how you report ESG boils down to materiality. And there's this big debate globally going on. Do we talk about single materiality or double materiality? I think when you talk about the global standards, a lot of us, from an investor point of view, you talk about your IFRS, your ISSBs, Malaysia, we've got MASBs, the Standards Board. You talk about single. What is your impact to the world, right? But what sustainability reporting, and I think a lot of the Europeans and the Global Reporting Initiative is coming out with, is double impact. What is your impact to the world? What is the impact to the world to you? And that is something very important, because if you read through any sustainability report, it's important to know, and it's important to identify what you have left behind in your world. Like they say in the, now I can use my SPM Malay Karangan, leaving your tiger stripes behind. What is your tiger stripes that you are leaving behind? And by the way, we only have 150 tigers left, so please be careful of them. So, when we talk about sustainability reporting, it's not only about your financial results. Everyone talks about metrics, metrics, metrics. It's not only about that. You have to talk about your impact to the environment, your impact to society, some things you can't measure, but we have to start developing that and start reporting that to go towards sustainability development. Just a quick update. So Europe has come up with the CSRD, the Common Standard Reporting Sustainability Reporting Disclosure. So eventually, if you are part of the EU supply chain or your clients are part of the EU supply chain, you will have to start considering those reports. I know a lot of bankers are now asking for Scope 1, Scope 2, Scope 3 emissions. Start measuring that now. And if your clients are even asking or thinking about going green, you should have a quick chat with your clients or your counterparts or even your financiers and ask them, yes, you are telling me S1, S2, S3, but what is your impact to the society? What is your impact to the environment? And number two, how do I know you're not greenwashing? How do I know you're not green hushing? Apparently, that's a new term that's being brandished around. And there's now a term called rainbow washing. Again, I will focus more on the sustainability and the environment part here. Talk to them, ask them, what are the controls and the systems that you have in place to make sure that this reporting is correct? Is it third-party assured? Is it discussed? And are you getting these things verified? So greenwashing claims are a big thing. I think you've all heard of companies in the US saying that, I would say investor activists taking action against companies that are greenwashing. Fun fact, who invented the term carbon footprint? Daniel, can we spare one Monopoly board? Okay, we can't spare a Monopoly board, but yeah, I'll give my Monopoly board. So who can tell me that they've invented the term greenwash, carbon footprint? Anyone? Close enough. It was actually BP. There we have it, right? So we have to see what is the narrative in place. A lot of companies are under the pressure to report positive ESG results, and that becomes a form of misrepresentation and manipulation. Misrepresentation because we want to report good results, manipulation because we want to play with the results. I know in Malaysia you've got the FTSE for Good index, you've got the MSCI index. We play around with the metrics to fit our results. I don't think this is the way to go. It is about your lasting impact, your non-financial impact. So let's go on and try to figure out how do we solve this properly. Definition of ESG standard is not standardized from region to region. This applies to industries also. I'll give you an example. The definition within the claim of going net zero or net neutral is differing from organization to organization. Very recently in Malaysia, there was a very famous organization that has been called out because they didn't include their scope 3 within their net zero targets. You all know who that organization is. And that's not the way to go. When you talk about net zero, it has to be global and in terms of your whole targets. Luckily, the second one is being solved, but there's more that needs to be done. And blindly following a trend without any backing whatsoever. This is an interesting one because a lot of them report your figures without any sort of system in place. We have a discussion with our counterparts, with clients, with stakeholders, and we are realizing that a lot of them are pulling figures from the air. I dare say that actually ESG is not difficult. I would like to say that actually you don't need consultants for ESG reporting. Bursa Malaysia has their sustainability reporting guidelines out there. You've got your 9 indicators that you have to start reporting by year end. Everything is online. It is more simpler to follow than your regular financial accounting. So basically, go online, start searching for it, everything is available. This is an interesting one. So now, I think ESG word soup is a very difficult topic because you've got all these ecosystems, you've got all these frameworks, but at the same time, we don't have any sort of guidance or best practices. In Malaysia, a lot of us follow the Global Reporting Initiative, which is, I'm also part of the GRI. It's the oldest standard out there. The ISSB is coming in and kind of building cross-compatibilities. But you've got other targets. A certain Singaporean developer has come in their annual report and given 10 standards. Now, if you read that particular developer's report, it doesn't make sense because it's as though you're shopping. Other companies have also kind of taken it accordingly. A certain petrochemicals company in Malaysia also has done their ESG reports a bit more liberally. So eventually, we need to fix all of this and we will have to redevelop this entire spectrum. But one thing I can tell you is that we are getting to a better place. In the next 1 to 2 years, with assurance coming into the picture recommended by Bursa Malaysia, we will eventually start seeing standardization. And we've also been personally involved with a lot of petrochemicals projects and also for timber and plantation projects. We are seeing that clients are looking for it and asking for it. And who's asking for these reports? The financiers, i.e. you. But I want to put down this very briefly. I'll give you some key figures, and I'm drawing it back to the SDGs. This is important because it's not capitalism per se. It's not about your numbers. It's about leaving your lasting impact. The SDGs, we've got 17 goals, 169 target metrics, and 191 member states. Everything, when you do, align it to the SDGs so it gives you a guiding principle of what to follow and how to follow it. The questions remain. What is the best approach for setting out your ESG practice and reporting? How do we validate and quantify our standards in reporting? Too many competing standards in which to adopt. These conversations are being done and they're being answered right now. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to be in this position. So everyone knows the New Yorker. Okay, a cartoon came out from the New Yorker. Yes, the planet got destroyed, but for a beautiful moment in time, we created a lot of value for shareholders. It's not only the value for your shareholders, it's the value for your world. So as Aesop once said, not the soap company, a crust eaten in peace is better than a banquet eaten in anxiety. So ladies and gentlemen, let's eat our crust peacefully, not panic in a wildfire. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kishan. As I was looking through all the slides earlier, when I saw that, I had to do a double take on how that represented the earth and the children, and it's very, very scary.
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's very, very scary. Okay, we have time for a few questions, so I'm going to start with the one who has had time to relax for a little bit. On the first question. The first question for you, Jasper, is in light of the push for innovation financing models, can you share recent challenges that you feel that is actually deterring to bridge the gap within the banking system? And what are the financial and the sustainable development, and what excites you as you come to a solution for these challenges?
Yeah, thanks, Tasha. I think this panel, with the esteemed panel on different subjects, actually brings out a lot of food for thought.
It does.
For everyone. You know, from a banking sector perspective, I think the challenges that we face is that we get pressed from both fronts. One is from the regulators, the other from Bank Negara, and then the other one is from the customers. The first questions from the customer is always, if we want to do green, is it going to be cheaper for me? Regulators, why are you not doing more than you can because you're holding all the money, you know, with the high interest rate environment? So these are the two challenges that we need to find a balance in between. To be honest, sustainability is not cheap, but is also equally expensive if we don't do anything about it, right? So we just been talking to a customer and an advisor this morning, and the goal that we continue to roll out more programs for green and things like that. If you think about it, right, if all the banks are rolling out sustainability and green programs and whatnot, eventually all the loans will be green. Then hopefully one day we won't call it green loan anymore. Then we call it brown loan, right? Why brown loan is because those that are not going after sustainability, it will be more expensive for you if you don't do anything now, right? So if you think about it, eventually the pricing for green loan will actually stabilize, or banks will compete with each other, and we all have to be market competitive. It will come to an equilibrium point whereby the only thing that the banks can do is charge more for those that are not green. So if you think about it, this is coming in the next 2, 3, or 5 years to come.
Do you think that given the current state that we are in with the climate change and all that, we have to expedite it faster, or we're actually on the right timeline when it comes to the financial services on sustainability?
Well, my view is that we're not moving fast enough. I think a lot of us want to move a lot more faster. I think 3 things needs to happen, right? One is on a regulator perspective. We need to work more with the regulators in terms of rolling out more sustainable programs. Sustainable as in it needs to be sustainable from a business perspective and from a financial perspective, and of course on an environmental perspective. So regulators need to realize that. I think Malaysian regulators are doing a lot more. You know, we work a lot with MIDA, so they have JITA, JITE, then you have your LCTF facility, GTFS. Malaysia has plenty of sustainability incentives actually for corporates. The question is, how does the corporates tap onto those? We also do quite a bit of green and SRI Sukuk as well. The larger corporates, no issue. They have plenty of advisors and plenty of internal CFOs actually are well aware of this. I think is the next level down, the corporates and the local corporates and the SMEs are actually not getting access into this. Right? Access, I mean, in terms of how to do it, where to do it, when to do it. So one is the regulators. Second thing is, I think, bankability. I think bankability is still important. In This morning we heard that, we need to do the right thing. To do the right thing means when a company come to us and present a business case, it still needs to make sense, right? It still needs to be profitable. You cannot lend just because it's green business, but yet is a losing value proposition for all parties. So I think this company still need to realize that it's not because the bank doesn't want to lend to green projects. It's just that the project still needs to have economic sense. So dollar and cents still need to be there, right? So you have the regulators, and then you have bankability, right? And I think the last thing is in terms of the ecosystem itself, right? I think the ecosystem means like through the sustainability program that we have run for U Solar, U Energy, U Drive, we realize that from a bank's perspective, we are always trying to encourage our clients to do more. But the clients always come back to us and, hey, can't you just give me a green loan and then I can go about to do it? But they also having these challenges is, hey, how do I start? The other issue that we are finding is corporates think that green is the panacea, right? As long as you do green, you will get financing from banks. I think we need to ask our customers, why are they doing it? I think that the why is more important than the how. If they don't solve the why, eventually they'll go into a business just because, I do green, I can get cheaper financing. But however, they need to ask themselves why they are doing this and do you have a pathway, right, to actually go sustainable? So that's more important because in the long run, in the next, you need to do your planning in the next 5-10 years to come to ensure that your business still has a sustainable business to go about.
Thank you for that answer. Your Excellency, you mentioned just now, and of course we've seen it on your slides, that you're taking that leap forward and you're actually quite more progressive than a lot of states around the region. What international support or help that you would need to ensure that the financial, we'll start with the financial aspect first, would be sustainable for you to keep continuing the work that you're doing in the province?
All right. Can you hear me? Okay, now it's better. I believe you're referring to forest conservation effort?
It can be forest conservation. It can also be in terms of the carbon trading.
Well, for forest conservation and carbon trading, we started, I think my province started a while back. There's some learning curve, how to get it certified, how to get the trading going. A lot of stakeholders we need to work with. We work with UN agencies. We work with the World Bank to finance the project. We work with communities, how to safeguard the forest, train them, how an alternative source of revenue. So reskilling them, and so there are a number of stakeholders that we work with. But lately, we also see private companies inquiring forest rehabilitation license, and also there's another term called new forest, where private companies are looking into these industries, try to replant some of the exploited areas, and try to get it carbon trading certified. So I think we do need more help and expand the scale of operation to other provinces, other areas. But having a coordinated team, open-minded, and listen to stakeholders and listen to the requirements, I think that's the way to go.
Thank you so much. I'll move on to Dr. Hurriyah. You mentioned that you left this region, you went to the UK, you came back to Malaysia, nothing much has changed. Now that you're back here, how are we doing actually?
Well, I'm happy that you asked this question. Actually, things changed a lot in Malaysia after 2014, after the IFSA. So yeah, you guys doing quite well in the sense that, well, in terms of sustainability, for example, you guys, and okay, let's start with the bold move that Malaysia has done with respect to Islamic finance. First of all, of course, I should congratulate BNM for having this, going with the universal license for the Islamic bank. So that's why we don't have wholesale or retail. Basically, Islamic banks are blessed, they can do anything here. In a way. And that's the universal license. I'm not saying that you are the first one to do it. It's just that in other countries it's given, so and they don't talk about it. But then because you basically like what your YB said, Malaysia usually is really good with having this coherent and cohesive narrative. Yeah. So people heard about it and people think, oh, Malaysia did it first. So that's the first one. And the second investment account in 2014. When there was a transition from the IBA, Islamic Banking Act, to the IFSA, Islamic Financial Services Act. This was also a very bold move, and it's proven actually. This is one of the accounts that you can optimize for the purpose of ESG, including the bankability. Because you see, this is something that conventional bank cannot do. If I may just share with Jasper, because of course, when it comes to commercial banks fund, you have to answer and responsibility and these fiduciary duties to your stakeholders, right? But with investment account, you can be very creative because you can just disclose what's the purpose of the Islamic investment account, and you can actually use it for that specific purpose. And you can actually come up with, whatever criteria. That's the whole idea. Whether or not it is practiced that way, that's a different story. But it is something that is, because I came from the Middle East, I wouldn't say innovative because the Middle East has it all along. It's just that for this region, yes, it's quite innovative in the sense that you give a way out for something that people believe that you should do it because you want to have more of the bank people rather than the unbanked. But where's the way out? But then again, you guys come out with the FBI, come out with the blended financing. Again, as I said, in general, it's new because you talk the walk. You tell everyone that, okay, Malaysia do this first. But because of my background, I came from the Middle East and we have done it. Well, it's not the first, but you say it first. And therefore you earn the credit by saying it first, And you put it in the proper policy. Whereas in the Middle East, because Sharia is actually inherent in their system, because their law is always Sharia first before anything else, is their civil law, Sharia. So therefore what they are doing is actually part of the business as usual. Whereas because Sharia is not the inherent law here, when you come up with something that is adopting Sharia, you have to come up with a set of policy, principle, whatever you call it, in order to codify it. So that's why I said, the great thing about Malaysia, why in most of the time you are rated number one, the frontier, the so-called frontier, because you talk the walk. And I'm not saying this is bad. This is something good, especially for countries, especially the neighboring countries, where they actually face bigger challenge, including Indonesia, for example, being a civil country that adopts civil law country. Because there are so many constraints, there are so many restrictions with the civil law, in the sense that if the law doesn't say it, they cannot do it.
Yes.
This is if we compare to Sharia like ibadah,
Yeah.
In Sharia, if you are not forbidden to do it, basically in muamalah, you can do it, right? Which is akin to common law. That's why common law countries, when they adopt Sharia, it goes very fast.
Yeah.
But the progress is very well. But for civil law country, it's very challenging. So when you talk the walk and people heard about it, they get motivated. So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. So yeah, I should actually congratulate Malaysia for that.
Thank you, Dr.
And whoever they have been involved in doing it, congratulations.
I think a lot of people in this room can take credit for that as well, because they must be the bankers that is supporting Bank Negara and all that.
And we hope that you guys will do more. And actually, during the SC event last week, I've been telling the CEOs of the Islamic banks who were all there, I told them, talk the walk.
Yeah.
Let people know, because otherwise people wouldn't know.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think the last question should go to you, Kishan, because greenwashing. A lot of companies would not know when they hit the iceberg until the iceberg is hit, right? Because I don't think those big companies that gets into a situation with greenwashing, they say, oh, we shouldn't have done that at that point where they should have done something about it. So maybe you can share in terms of your experience and Grant Thornton's experience in terms of what are the common pitfalls that actually people see and should avoid rather than say it's a risk that we can take.
Yep. Common pitfalls, I think it's just lack of preparedness. A lot of our clients go in with a grand intention of saying we want to be compliant without having the data or the knowledge at hand. So I think to prepare an organization, I feel just it's very easy to get there. I'll call this place the target, ready, fire model. Target what you want, get your organization prepared for it, get them ready, and fire, i.e. start collecting the data, start measuring, start equipping your people to get the solutions that you want.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we run out of time, but I would like to say when Daniel asked me whether I could moderate this panel, I was thinking such diverse group of people for one common cause. But then I realized that's the whole purpose of this summit, is to get differences of opinion, differences of thoughts, and bring it together, because somebody wise told me once that we always say we're doing ESG, SDG for people. Actually, we're doing it for us. You know, so if us comes together, then it'll be a better future. On that note, please thank our panelists for such a wonderful and engaging session. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you. Over to you, MC.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big warm round of applause for our panel, and also the moderator, Nick Tasha, Nick Kamaruddin, for doing such a great job. A warm round of applause once again. At this juncture, I'd like to call upon Mr. Ong Pang Yen, the Executive Director of the Chairman's Office, Sunway Group, and Sunway Group's Sustainability Agenda Lead, to hand out some mementos or also some gifts to our panel. A token of appreciation from ASLI for the group of diverse people who brought some a good range of topics to us this afternoon. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a warm round of applause for our panel talking about SDGs and financing.